It is time to wake up. On this show, we cover the stories the mainstream media won't touch. Live from the Rocky Mountains. Welcome to Redacted with Natalie and Clayton Morris. Are you ready? Let's get uncomfortable. Oh, let's get uncomfortable. Welcome into Redacted on this Tuesday. Yeah, welcome in. Hey, we got a very busy show for you, so we're not going to waste a lot of your time today at all. We hope we don't usually waste any of your time. That's our goal on a normal basis, but we have a lot of stories we're covering right now. Manufacturing consent for war in Iran. If you're paying attention on social media, chances are you're probably getting a lot of fake information, false information about what's happening right now. But the president just spoke a few minutes ago. It seems like we are moving towards attacks in Iran, all under the auspices of protecting the protesters. We suddenly care about human rights. That's a very big story we're going to be following for you in the very latest on Iran.
We're also going to talk about war in the Arctic because the plan to annex Greenland is not a joke. It sounds like it is, but it's not. Now there's a bill in Congress that would authorize President Trump to take Greenland by any force necessary. So, okay, what does that mean? We're excited to talk to General Mike Flynn about this. He has been an anti-war voice in many presidential administrations. So we're going to see what he has to say about this. Also, anti-ICE protests, they rely heavily on privileged liberal white women. Why do you think that is? And why are they embarrassing themselves like this? Now, this is not the Terminator, Linda Hamilton type soccer mom. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Pull-ups in the prison cell kind of thing.
Terminator 2. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You get exactly what I mean. That inspired so many women to do bicep curls and pull-ups, which I never succeeded at doing. That's not them. Why is this happening? It's dangerous, girls. We're going to have a little heart to heart because I have been one of these Selma envy types before, and I want to tell you to stand down and try and think of a more productive use of your time. So we're going to talk about that.
How about taking care of your family instead of driving 400 miles and getting in the way of ICE agents? Just an idea. Also, we're going to talk about this Jewish synagogue attacked in Mississippi. The FBI is all over it. But have you heard about the 500 Catholic churches that have been attacked? Many of them burned. Christian centers, crisis pregnancy centers, also attacked and burned. Probably not, but don't worry. The mainstream media is all over this story, and so is the FBI. Oh my gosh, the hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a knife. We're going to talk about all of that and more on today's show. And I first want to mention our newsletter. Can we mention our newsletter? We don't mention it enough or ever. And my team is like, hey, tell them about the newsletter. We have hundreds of thousands of you that subscribe daily and read it daily. It's part of your daily dose of news first thing in the morning. If you go to redacted.inc, just put in your email address. We don't sell your email or anything like that. You just receive a great newsletter that Natalie writes every night into the morning hours and does a great job with it. Really cover about 4 or 5 of the big stories of the day and delivered to your inbox first thing in the morning. So just go to redacted.inc is the place to go and get it.
All right, I just removed one demerit for not promoting the newsletter. So good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I know Parham on the team. He's like, can you talk about the newsletter? You never talk about it. I'm like, okay, I will talk about it today because it's a big part of what we do here.
Yeah, and we try really hard to link you to original source material to the best of our ability so that when you get to this show, if I say something and you're like, well, where can I see that for myself? I really try to make sure you have links to those things in the newsletter. So yes, there we go. So before we get to war with Iran, war in the Arctic, war against ICE. There's a lot of war, a lot of violence today. We want to tell you about our friends over at Cowboy Cholesterol. Now, I always want to bring you my bottle to show you that this is actually something that we take regularly. Clayton and I like to put it in my yogurt. They suggest you can put it in your smoothie as well. There's various flavors. Now, cholesterol is the first substance that a mammal makes before they nurse their babies. If you've been a nursing mammal like I have, you know what this is. When you see this, you know your body's off to the races. It is giving your baby everything that it needs to jumpstart their life. It's an antibiotic, it's a probiotic, it's full of vitamins and minerals, and it will help you. Well, did you know that it can help you well into adulthood? Now, we're not suggesting that you have human cholesterol your whole life. We're suggesting that you have bovine cholesterol, and that's where Cowboy Cholesterol comes in. They make bovine colostrum from baby calves that are taken, from the mothers actually, that are taken after the babies actually get their fill. It's delicious. It adds very little flavor, or they do have various flavors. If you'd like it, you can have vanilla, what have you. It's fantastic. Check out all the benefits of colostrum for yourself. Some of the flavors: chocolate, vanilla, matcha, strawberry. You can put it in your coffee, your smoothie, what have you. Or like I said, I like to put it in my yogurt. So check it out for yourself. You can scan the code that you see on your screen, or use the code Redacted News for a limited time and get 25% off your entire order. So one more time, that's cowboycolostrum.com/redacted news and get 25% off using the code Redacted News.
I wonder what it would taste like sprinkled on port wine cheese.
Don't get started.
Don't even get started.
This is an inside joke that I'm in trouble because I threw out Clayton's port wine cheese.
We don't need to go down that road.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't bring up a sore wound.
I'm sorry. I apologized.
Yes, but she still didn't buy a new one. Okay, let's get to the news, shall we? Got a lot to get to here. Well, the warmongers, neocons, and Zionists are all out in force pushing for a war in Iran. Of course, here's Israel First, Mark Levin. I'm convinced the president will act decisively and strongly and militarily, as he has threatened for days, because he knows what we all know. That is, if the regime survives, it will be the greatest missed opportunity against terrorism and an avowed terror state ever. Diplomacy and negotiations are ridiculous words in the context of what's happening in Iran and what's happening to those brave people. Tell that to the vice president, who is trying to push the administration towards a diplomatic solution to any of this. But okay, so he is, I guess, a lunatic. Here's Laura Loomer. Bomb the Ayatollah, in all caps. This is like apparently what she dreams about every night. So of course,
you not supposed to condone violence on X? I would be afraid that would get me kicked off. But I guess there's certain people you can condone violence
you can.
towards.
If you're Israel for it, you can say, you can absolutely say that, but you can't say anything else. Like, so that you know how this rolls now. Of course.
Well, that was YouTube. It even it's in their policy that you're allowed to say that you can kill Palestinians because they're the Hamas's terrorists. I mean, you could say kill Hamas, but you can't say anything about Israel. It's literally like in their rules that you're allowed to do it.
Gotcha.
Yep.
We are living, of course, in a clown world, a free speech clown world. Anyway, so of course this is coming. Netanyahu, of course, just visited the White House recently, asked Trump to carry out a new round of attacks on Iran. Usually when he shows up a few days later, this happens. I've spoken to sources in Israel, former IDF, who've told me that they believe it's either going to happen Friday into Saturday or the following Friday into Saturday. That is on the Israeli side that we have. And the president just spoke a few moments ago on this very subject. Listen.
To all Iranian patriots, keep protesting, take over your institutions if possible, and save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you. You're being very badly abused. If the numbers are right now, I hear 5 different sets of numbers. I hear numbers. Look, 1 death is too much. But I hear much lower numbers, and then I hear much higher numbers. But I say save their names because they'll pay a very big price. And I've canceled all meetings with the Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. And all I say to them is help is on its way. You saw that I put tariffs on anybody doing business with Iran. Just went into effect today. And I say make Iran great again. You know, it's a great country until these monsters came in and took it over.
Who, us?
The CIA had nothing to do with that, of course.
Us?
Okay.
We did that.
All right. Oh my God. By the way, the numbers thing. This is, you see like people like Mark Levin throwing around numbers that he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Our sources yesterday confirmed the numbers that we reported here yesterday on the show. 2,150 dead. This was as of 2 days ago, 480 injured, 620 missing across 11 cities in Iran. Now, you've heard numbers from the CIA and Mossad pushing out 300,000 dead. Then you have like Mark Levin pushing out tens of thousands of people. Okay, so those are the numbers from about 48 hours ago, and we'll get you updated numbers as we get them from our sources. Anyway, we want to bring in Dave DeCamp now, who is the editor over at antiwar.com, one of our favorite websites. It's very rare because, I mean, there's so many warmongers right now that desperately want war, and they'll try to spin it any way they can. They're trying to tell us, Dave, that it's about human rights. We got to protect the protesters, and then we're going to sanction them to death so they don't have food. I don't know what now it's about nuclear. It's also about nuclear weapons. It's
What
about their
is
nuclear.
love, Dave? When you love the Iranian people, how do you express that? You bomb them, you starve them. Is this just tough?
You take away their power, their electricity.
What
their
are
nuclear-
they trying to sell us
Yeah,
here?
anyway,
What do you
sorry.
think?
Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me back. It's good to talk to you guys. And so I think it's important for people to understand, which I'm sure your viewers do, is that Israel is really pushing for another attack on Iran. They want Trump to do it or Trump to back them. And right now, I mean, if you go on X, we're being just hit with so much propaganda about what's happening inside Iran that it's very difficult to understand exactly what is happening. And these people claiming, as you said, the numbers, kind of these astronomical numbers, and you just see it spread like wildfire. It's very clear that this propaganda is being pushed because they want a war. President Trump has said, and he's been saying this for a few weeks now, that he would attack Iran if they killed protesters. And I believe, based on what we've seen from Israel, that he probably told that maybe to Netanyahu or Israeli officials privately before he first said that publicly, which is why I think is part of the reason why we saw a Mossad X account at the end of December. But when these protests first started and they were relatively calm, we saw this Mossad X account in Farsi say that they have, agents among the protesters. It seemed like they were trying to stoke a crackdown from Iranian authorities. And one thing that we do know, both from Iranian government sources and NGOs that are, backed by the West, that at least over 100 Iranian law enforcement and military personnel have been killed. That's a significant number. That means that there is, attacks on them, armed attacks against them. Of course, I'm sure there's also a crackdown on unarmed protesters as well. But it's certainly just not the picture that we're being shown in Western media. And again, on X, I mean, man, you go on there and it's just people just pumping all this stuff out.
Oh, it's fake videos from Greece. Like you see like videos, I mean, it's just like people sharing all sorts of fake videos or whatever it is to further their own narrative.
Videos from previous protests about women removing their hijab. We've seen that years ago, but people don't know this. So, some of the conversation, I've seen people taking Glenn Greenwald to task, and you don't do that in my presence, saying, oh, you just don't care about Iranians. They really do want this. How the hell can we know the will of the Iranian people or that we should solve it? This is where this conversation hangs in the balance.
Right. So,
and how is the U.S. going to solve this?
Bomb
They're
them.
just going to start bombing Iran? Even
Dave,
if they
that's always the best way to solve it. We have a long history of regime change operations. I mean, let's look at Libya. Libya is a shining example of how great things are there now after we bayoneted and sodomized him with a sword, Muammar Gaddafi, or Iraq. I mean, look how great Iraq is, or Afghanistan. I mean, the laundry list is, it's a long list right now. So whenever we want to solve something, the best thing for us to do is bomb them. That's how you help people.
But please do respond to that, this idea that we need to save them. They really do want this. Can you respond to that?
Well, yeah, I would say that these protests started over the economic situation in Iran. And since the first Trump administration, since he quit the Iran nuclear deal, the U.S. policy has been what they call maximum pressure, which essentially, the idea of it, what Mike Pompeo said at the time, was to destroy the Iranian economy. And hurt the Iranian people, so then they would rise up against the government. So the U.S. strategy has been to impose economic harm on the people of Iran. So I would say if you really want the U.S. to help Iran, the right thing to do would be to lift those sanctions and not be involved. And you see what Trump is saying there, telling them to seize the institutions. Look at what the Iranian government is saying. All their official media and everything is saying that this is all being orchestrated by the U.S. and Israel, which of course there's certainly some truth to that, but there's also real grievances. But if you have the president of the United States telling them, ordering them to take over the government and continue the protests, that's just giving the government kind of more of an excuse to crack down. And also Trump, he said that he's going to impose these tariffs now. So if that's true, if he actually enforces that, you never really know with these tariffs if they're actually going to be enforced. And say that impacts certain countries trading with Iran. That could just hurt the Iranian economy and the people more. So, it just does not seem to be the best idea. And again, just the idea here that it's the U.S.'s job to help the Iranian people when, as you mentioned, you look at our track record in the region and you look at what the U.S. has been helping Israel do for the past 2 years. I would say there's probably a better candidate for helping the Iranian people than the U.S.
And I mean, I don't mean to be like glib or anything. I just come from the America First position on this, which is our country is crumbling. And, you see like the people sharing like photos. They're like, hey, Greenland, do you want this? And it's like shows all these homeless encampments across California. And, like this is what so we have a lot of problems here in the United States. And I don't understand how the narrative is that we can somehow help them, that it's our job to help them. Like, would we want, amid protests in the United States about our own government or about President Biden, we would want the Iranian government here with tens of thousands of people involving themselves in our government or our way of living? I don't want Israel telling me what it's like in my community or what I should expect from my government. F off.
Yeah, and that's something people need to understand. Even if, say, you were opposed to your government, say during the Biden administration, you thought the 2020 election was rigged and you wanted him out, would you have supported China or Russia coming in and taking Biden out?
Right.
Right.
People are instinctively against foreign intervention.
Yeah.
So again, we're getting this picture. I see like this report on Fox News. The reporter's like, oh, my source in Iran tells me all the Iranian protesters love Trump. They're so happy with what he's doing. They want him to do more. It's like, really? Is that what they're saying in Iran right now?
No, and then you have Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone reporting today, showing other, on the street protesters saying the exact opposite of that. But you're never going to see that on Fox News. So there's a massive media propaganda campaign working right now, is there not?
Yeah, there certainly is. It's massive. I mean, I think they're throwing all of their PSYOP chips into this right now because from Israel's perspective, I mean, the things we've talked about before, they know that their time is running out in the U.S., that they're losing support, and they might view this administration as kind of the last shot for the big war with Iran. And, again, from an America First perspective, what is going to be the consequences if the U.S. does start bombing Iran? The Iranians have said that they're going to hit U.S. bases, U.S. ships in the region in response. The last time during what we now call the 12-day war, they really choreographed it and gave the U.S. a warning before they attacked that base in Qatar. But I think, we have reason to believe that this time they're not going to give warning. And again, there's so much kind of PSYOP happening. It's hard to give credit to these reports, but I've seen reports of that Iran has warned Gulf countries in the region that house U.S. bases, that if the U.S. attacks them, they're going to strike U.S. bases without warning. Again, we don't know exactly how credible these reports are. Also, there's also reports that the U.S. has warned their Gulf allies that they are going to bomb Iran. So, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the coming days, but I mean, if we're to take President Trump at his word, I mean, he said that he's going to hit him it seems like there's a real chance of something happening here. And if there's a lot of American casualties that Americans could get killed, and that's probably just going to drag the U.S. even further into it.
Now, something I put on X is, we're really worried about the lives of Iranian protesters who are protesting their governments. What about the lives of Israeli protesters who are protesting the Netanyahu government or protesting what's happening in the West Bank? No, them. We don't care about them. Absolutely not. No, double standard. Now, I just think it's worth remembering the PSYOPs that the Pentagon has been running on Iran for decades. You probably recall in 2022, there was a bombshell report in the Washington Post about the Stanford report that detailed the level of PSYOPs that the Pentagon was running inside Iran on social media. So it was as benign as here's a recipe, and then also overthrow the Ayatollah. That was also happening in Afghanistan and other places. We know this. So we know that this has continued. All Lloyd Austin said at the time was, we'll look into that. Maybe we should stop it. But we have no reason to believe that it ever stopped. We saw Israel doing it in open social media with Netanyahu and his clean glasses of water. Iranians, you can have this too. So we cannot excuse ourselves from stoking this. We just can't really know how potent the ingredient has been, right?
Yeah. And I mean, just a few months ago, I don't know if you've noticed, but the son of the Shah has been all over the place.
Yes.
Apparently, he met with Steve Witkoff. That's according to Axios to Barak Ravid. So I haven't seen confirmation beyond that. But he's really getting shoved down our throats. And there was reporting from Haaretz a few months ago that Israel was pushing him. That's why we were seeing him everywhere. Yeah. And he's really, and there's claims that people have been chanting for him in the streets in Iran. And there's been videos that purport to show that. But again, this stuff, I just find this all very hard to believe that that's someone who Iranians want to fly in, someone who hasn't lived there in decades, want to fly in and put into power. Right. See, we're getting hit at all angles, I think, here.
Yeah.
Well, we know the CIA with their... Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of Americans, people are aware of that at this point. But they're really laying it on thick right now with the propaganda.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we just saw yesterday the report from Israel, I think from Smotrich, saying they're going to, now it's $1.5 billion they're devoting to Hasbara to push out propaganda. That's part of their new budget, $1.5 billion. I mean, they're like saying it out in the open, like, here you go.
I wonder if there's anyone who didn't buy Ukraine, didn't buy Venezuela, didn't buy Yemen, but then they're like, yes, Iran, this one's different. Who is that archetype? I mean, we don't know. Yeah, raise your hand in the chat. Yeah, that wasn't really a question.
I was also going to say the CIA's operation, having whole divisions devoted to pushing out, and fomenting this discontent and this chaos. As Colonel Towner Watkins likes to point out, this is, a strategy of tension, right? To keep us like in this like heated back and forth. You got the Laura Loomers and Mark Levins. You got the neocons on the other side pushing for this. And you got the MAGA, cat turds who are all up Trump's ass no matter what. The guy, and then you have people being slammed as independent media. It's just crazy right now. So I guess, at the end of the day, what are your sources saying, Dave, from people on the ground or people you're speaking about? Like, how likely is this to unfold in the next few days? Some sort of attack, some sort of U.S. involvement, and airstrikes or assistance to Israel?
Yeah, it's been difficult to kind of figure it out because just hearing so many different things. One thing that we haven't seen, which is different from last year back in June before the war, we haven't seen a big buildup of U.S. forces in the Middle East, U.S. warships and everything. And there's reporting that the military has told Trump that if they want to attack, then they need time to prepare for the Iranian counterattack. So I am hoping that that's a sign that we're not going to see, U.S. airstrikes here. But at the same time, I mean, with Trump, it's always tough to read him. But I think at this point, post Venezuela attack, that when he makes these threats, these aren't idle threats. And I think he's kind of riding high and thinking that he can carry out some sort of quick military intervention here. But it could really blow up in his face. And I mean, it sounds like there's been talk within the administration about taking, they're basically determined to take some sort of action, which could involve a cyber attack or actually bombing government targets inside the country. And I think there's something with Trump and apparently one reason why they went through with the attack on Maduro was because Maduro was kind of trying to call Trump's bluff, wasn't really taking the U.S. threat seriously. So what we've seen is Trump make some pretty big threats here about bombing Iran if they kill protesters. And now all of the people close to him who are very pro-Israel and want this war are basically saying, all right, you said you're going to do it, so let's do it. And I think, unfortunately, those are the people, the Lindsey Grahams are the people he seems to be listening to at the moment.
Death eaters. They're death eaters.
Dave DeCamp, editor at antiwar.com, one of our favorite websites. If you are anti-war, it's a must-read. But if you're like a warmonger like Lindsey Graham, chances are you're probably
it's not your favorite.
It's probably not your favorite website.
Not bookmarked by Lindsey Graham.
Probably prowar.com is your favorite website. Dave, great to see you, as always. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate it. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about war coming to the Arctic Circle. This is a story we've been covering for years here on the show. We've been warning you that this is coming. The United States was wildly unprepared for what's unfolding up there. Of course, one ice cutter that we have, China and Russia have taken the stronghold. At the heart of it all is Greenland right now. We heard from the Prime Minister of Greenland just a few minutes ago, announcing his allegiance. We're going to tell you where his allegiance is. Is it to the United States? Is it to the EU? Is it to Denmark? Is it to NATO? We'll talk about all of that in a moment. But first, this. If you've been seriously injured, your case could be worth millions, and you should know exactly what your rights are. That's why I want to tell you about Morgan & Morgan. They're America's largest injury law firm with over 1,000 attorneys working in all 50 states. And unlike a lot of firms that settle quickly, Morgan & Morgan doesn't take lowball offers from insurance companies. Just in the past few months, they won $12 million in Florida when the insurance company offered only $350,000. And in New York, they secured $6.8 million on a case where the offer was just $275,000. And the best part? It's absolutely free unless you win. Insurance companies try to pay out as little as possible. Morgan & Morgan fights to get you more if you become their client. It only takes a few minutes to see if you have a case, and you can do it right from your phone. It's that easy. You can visit forthepeople.com/redacted, or you can click the link in the description to get started. Well, welcome back. Well, war is coming to the Arctic. We've been saying this for a few years now. How it will unfold, no one's really sure. Last week, even General Mike Flynn joined the fray, saying that the very same thing is unfolding. All eyes on the Arctic. And this morning, former Russian President Medvedev did some trolling, like he loves to do, saying Russia is announcing a surprising referendum, inviting 55,000 residents of Greenland to vote to join the Russian Federation instead of the United States. He said Trump needs to hurry. He said, quote, all 55,000 residents of Greenland could vote to join Russia, and it's all over. And then just a few minutes ago, Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen held a press conference announcing that if we have to choose between the United States and Denmark, here and now we choose Denmark, we choose NATO, the Kingdom of Denmark, and the EU. That's him there in the blue hoodie. So are we barreling towards a showdown in the Arctic? General Mike Flynn is a former national security advisor to President Trump, and he has been outspoken on this and where things are heading. General, great to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, great to. Thanks for having me on. And I was fascinated by that previous discussion about Iran. But this situation. It's a big sort of strategic statement is that we are fishing in the wrong pond, okay? And the pond being the wrong pond is the Atlantic. The pond that we should be fishing in is the Pacific, because the behemoth gorilla that's not being talked about rarely being talked about is China. And so, when we talk about the Arctic, and I know that's why you asked me to come on today, there are people need to understand that there are treaties between the United States of America and Greenland, principally Denmark. They go back to 1951, so those treaties have to be broken. That would have to be a step that they'd have to take. For everybody, during World War II, the United States of America actually had what's called the Bluey program, like it sounds, Bluey East and Bluey West, and they were basing for naval facilities, communications facilities, weather stations, airfields that were in Greenland, placed there basically to help us defeat the Nazis over in Europe. So there's a long history, at least a history in the last 80 years or so, going back to prior to us getting involved in World War II. So it was back in around 1940 when the Germans invaded, I think it was Norway at the time. And so they're close. And so the U.S., was starting to get engaged, and all kinds of historic, components of this issue to understand, never mind the treaties. So a couple of other aspects of the Arctic. Why is the Arctic so important? The Arctic is super important because the Arctic has a lot of resources. It's got probably some of the best kept secrets about natural resources in the Arctic. Now, Russia has about somewhere between 50 160 icebreakers, which are very good icebreakers. And some of them are nuclear powered icebreakers.
Wow.
So, and the distance between the Pacific, where, Dalian, China and Europe, if you got to go through, or if you got to go around South America, or if you got to go through the Arctic, or if you got to go through the Panama Canal, and if you can't get through the Panama Canal, then those distances matter, right? And strategic distances. So Russia invested in icebreakers, really, really good icebreakers. The United States of America, via our Coast Guard, I think our number right now is about 4. And those are very aged icebreakers. None of them are nuclear powered. So that means that they can't break through that ice like what you're seeing there in that picture, as well as some of these other things that the Russians have. So Russia did a massive investment in icebreakers. Why? Because they don't have like warm water ports down in the Mediterranean or out in the coastlines that the United States has, right? Atlantic and Pacific. So the strategic importance of the Arctic is not only for resources, but also for transit of additional resources that have to come from different parts of the world. So it's hugely geostrategically important for the way that the world operates. And if in fact there was ever a reason to go to a massive world war again. And I do believe that we are very close to that. That's why I said we're fishing in the wrong pond, because we're so overly focused on the Middle East, which we have spent easily, I'll lowball it, 10 trillion, maybe $15 trillion in Afghanistan and Iraq, but I'll lowball it. I'll say 10. I mean, I've seen one number of 6 trillion just in Afghanistan alone. And we lost, right? We lost there. We lost Iraq, and we have a relationship with Iraq right now, but it's not great. The Iranians, the Iranian regime kind of controls what goes on there. Now, again, Greenland. Why is Greenland important? It has always been important for our sort of a strategic hinge, if you will, as you go up into the Denmark Straits or the Greenland Straits, whichever side of the pond you're standing on. You can call it one of those two. But so Greenland does matter, and there are resources. There's fisheries and there's other things up there, but it's less that than a strategic piece of geography,
right?
And there's great people up there, so I'm not gonna slight the people of Greenland or what they want, but all of these things matter. So Medvedev says things sometimes, and it's interesting. I had not heard that today, but he'll say things, but he doesn't say things, sleight of hand. He doesn't just come out and make it up. He'll run it by Putin, because it's a very controlled set of information, things that they want to put out. So that's a very controlled message, and they're basically signaling that, hey, if you don't want to join, the America, and so we have to be very, very careful. And this is now, I'm going to take it from just the Arctic and the straits between Europe and Greenland, and Greenland as a piece of geography, because all of these things are connected. And Iran, Ukraine, Greenland, Panama Canal, Venezuela. The fact that we are not talking about the situation out in the Pacific, and we rarely talk about that, really, really bothers me, because the Chinese are not only inside of our government and inside of our own boundaries here, and they purchased all kinds of property. Yes. They've flown balloons over. They know everything going on. But the Chinese are also building a Mongaso military power out in the Pacific, and they have the different. They have an ability to be able to just basically come into our country right now. Never mind operating in Venezuela. So let's just raise it up a notch, if you guys bear with me here.
Yes.
Foreign policy and the foreign policy of the administration right now, I would kind of call it, I think, because I'm not quite sure, I would call it a policy of economic containment, right? Trying to contain the what President Trump wants to do with our economy, which is to grow it, and to contain other economies. Now, when it comes to Iran, if we threaten tariffs of everybody, and I think Dave mentioned about we're not sure whether we can do, who knows whether tariffs are working, but when we threaten those things, we have to be very careful that when the United States of America says something, especially the president, that there has to be action because the people on the ground are going to go, oh my God, the president of the United States, did you hear what he said? And he's going to help us. Well, maybe we will, maybe we won't. I mean, because we can't get ourselves mired in a region where we just came out of, and I hate to say it like this, but we lost. And we lost lives, we lost resources, and we lost prestige. So now we're in Venezuela. Now we just did what we did in Venezuela, and I don't know what the outcome of Venezuela is right now. I was told today that they just arrested about 1,000 military inside of Venezuela in the last 24 to 48 hours, put them in prison. And so is that a stable environment that we are going to work with and bring in energy, these energy companies? If I was an energy company, would I go into that environment?
Yeah, if you're Exxon, would you want to go in there right now?
Yeah, so I think I'm suspect of the outcomes of some of the things because now I'm going to take it down to what I really understand, and that's the intelligence business and what is being reported probably to President Trump, and certainly what we can glean from people that, media, New York Times, Washington Post, intel sources say. I'm telling you what I know, and I'm not saying it because somebody told me. I'm telling you because not much changes over time. And I'm telling you that our CIA, I don't believe has the capabilities that we, like to think that it has, that Netflix might show on some series. They just don't. They're just not that capable anymore because they gave up those capabilities. So when the president of the United States, I believe, and I'm not in there advising him right now, so I'm just telling you what I would do is I would be asking really, really hard questions, and I'd be digging into the rear end of some of the intelligence that I am getting to say whether or not it's true. And is it valid? And where is it coming from? And when did you get it? And who gave it to you? And is it disinformation that's being fed to us? Are you, if I'm getting information from my CIA director or in a presidential daily briefing, and I look at it, well, Mr. President, find out if that intelligence is coming directly from Mossad. Okay? Don't think that the CIA has this perfect knowledge of everything. They do not. And if I was to grade our CIA today in certain skills and sets that they should have, I would give them not really a great passing grade, a very, very low grade, probably in the very average, maybe below average grade of collection. Yeah. That's collection, okay? Wow. Now, analysis, I give them, there's good analysts in there, but collection, not so good. And so our military footprint, so let's take it to that's the CIA intelligence, civilian capacity that we have.
But if I can just pause right there and ask you, because you're trying to connect the Russia-China threats from BRICS, and you connected Venezuela beautifully. And so what it seems to me is that we see Russia and China economically advancing, and we're trying to hold their pant leg and say, wait, you're not going to get ahead of us.
U.S. dollar, hold on, right. We need to save the U.S. dollar.
You're going to hold right there. And so obviously Venezuela was doing business outside of the petrodollar with BRICS nations. We couldn't have that. Now we see Greenland, which is an important thoroughfare through what we're calling the new Silk Road, the what do we call it? The Northern Sea Road, the polar Arctic, right? Those two are collaborating, and they have China and Russia. They have the capability to do it that we do not have. So can you maybe respond to this? Like we're holding the pant leg of our adversaries right now because we can't quite catch up.
Yeah, so that's why I use the phrase economic containment, because I think that there's something to that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I can clearly define that yet, but believe me, I am seriously giving that a lot of thought, because I think that's got to be where Trump is at. I'm not even sure if he has thought about it like that, but it is all connected. Nothing that we are talking about. You know, I came on to talk about the Arctic and the Greenland situation, and that's good and that's fine. And you had Dave on there from antiwar.com. Great. He's wonderful. And you know, we've been talking about Venezuela, and then all of a sudden that falls off the screen. I mean, it is all connected. You just mentioned the acronym BRICS. Well, one of the well, actually two of the countries, but one of the countries in there is the India, right? So what is India? What is their response? Because that's China and India alone are 1/3 of the population of the planet, and they're both very powerful nuclear-powered nations. And you know, and India is generally a peace-seeking nation. You know, you don't hear much about India getting involved in all kinds of stuff, right? The Chinese are all over the world right now. So China doesn't have a China first policy. China has a China will be everywhere policy. I think that, you know, where do I want to be? Okay, and this is Mike Flynn now, okay? Because I am watching closely what is happening inside of our country, okay? And what is happening inside of our country, and I was told this invisible organization, they call it, or maybe it's indivisible, but it's invisible, I think was the name. They were able to put out 1,000 protests around the country after this tragedy up in Minneapolis, right? And I'm looking at driving around our country, the infrastructure, airports. I'm all over the place, you know, and I'm looking at all kinds of things going on here. Manufacturing, our military. I do want our military to be the strongest military in the world, bar none. But our military hasn't changed in a year. Our military's ability to adapt, and you know, Pete Hegseth is putting out some new guidance today or yesterday about innovation. That's wonderful. But we have got to so focus on strengthening America, and I'm talking about our homeland, our capabilities right here at home. I just mentioned two or one vital capability, and these are vital. When I talk about icebreakers, and Russia has 60 of them, some of them are nuclear powered, and we have 4, and they're all aging, at least 50 years old. None of them are nuclear powered. You know, we're screwed up in the Arctic. Never mind, you know, whatever's going to happen with Greenland. And that's a big deal. It's those kinds of capabilities. It's that kind of stuff. And so if we extend ourselves with our military into Venezuela, and we continue to have the Armada off of the Venezuelan coast, we now, you know, maybe we have to reposition forces to do something in the Middle East again, because the president says he's sounding as though we're going to do something. We still have, you know, a large footprint over in Europe. God knows what we're going to do over there, and we have to maintain, you know, in the other pond, right, the pond that we're not fishing in, we have to maintain a capability out there that is second to none. Probably our primary force, our primary military force, and our priority of effort and our priority of work and energy, but from our military, should be out in the Indo-Pacific Basin, they call it. That's where it should be. But with all this dispersion of forces, right? And one of the things, and I'll jerk it back to the Athenian Empire, because one of the things that caused the Athenian Empire to collapse was their massive debt, the internal problems that they had within their own government, which we have plenty of, and their overextension of their military. And their empire, you know, with a few other conditions, but those big ones existed. Their empire, they collapsed overnight, and so they were a form of republic, right? So you know, I don't want to get hyperbolic here, but the uncertainty and frankly the chaotic environment that we are in globally, some of it is in fact, I believe personally, and I think that I've seen enough evidence that it's being pushed into the administration, I think, to put President Donald J. Trump into a foreign policy dilemma as we head into the 2026 elections. And I think that the midterms, and I think that this foreign policy dilemma, it might be something that I don't think that, you know, I know he wants to feel like he's doing the right thing, and I do believe that he believes that. But I think that there's others that are in the system, right, that will give him a turd and not let it be cleaned for the next year. And all of a sudden, he's got a foreign policy disaster as we go into the midterms primaries for those start in a couple of months here. And you look around, you go, oh my God, why would anybody vote for this mess, right?
Right, because that all colors, as you put out, the turd colors all of the other things you're trying to do, right?
Exactly.
Housing prices, credit card debt, trying to cap those things at 10% like he's trying to do. He could come out and like eliminate income taxes. If he could say, and I think that I think you're right. I think there's some dark, nefarious forces who are pushing him in a direction in the White House. But at the end of the day, you know him. You served with him.
Yeah, I
the buck stops with him. The buck stops with him, right, General?
100%. And we have got to stop kidding ourselves about the depths of corruption in our government. So if they were going to, while he was the president before, if they're going to lie, if his own members of his team at that time lied to him about Russiagate, and they were members of his team, CIA director, State Department, Secretary of State, and others that knew about, and others in Congress, when he had Congress, lied to him about Russiagate. So, and we know about the 2020 election. Let's get our elections fixed. Let's make sure we have free and fair elections.
Well, let's get rid. You've been so much out there trying to get rid of the rot inside of this government.
Well,
and
you
we
were
just
personally prosecuted by the deep states,
right?
Yeah,
and
let's again. Look at what we're discovering in Minneapolis alone, and then the connections of those dots. I mean, they just found $700 million in cash in suitcases the other day at the Minneapolis airport. I mean, this is insane. And we just Congress is about to pass another bill giving $300 million to this National Endowment for Democracy, which is supposed to be operating overseas to help democracy overseas, and actually they're operating they're operating inside of our country against our own government. So, and we're funding the whole goddamn thing. So again, back to war, back to the levels of what we started to talk about. Number one, I believe strongly that we're fishing in the wrong pond, and we are responding to the inertia of the messaging coming from, frankly, some on the right. Okay, so you mentioned a few during the last segment with Dave, and I think that people have to get over that because, and Mr. President, if you're listening, you have to get over that because I'm telling you, you will get like a big hook in your mouth, buddy. You're going to get drawn in, and once you're drawn in, you can't get out of it. And my last comment here, because you guys have a show to run here, but the response about, like, if you get involved in Iran, we're involved in Venezuela, we're involved in Ukraine, we may get involved in other places. The response used to be in the region, they'd fire a missile, they do this, they do that, they'd attack a base in the region. No, the responses now are going to be right here in the homeland because they can reach us. They can reach us with their boots on the ground who are already in our country. And that's in the likes of Hamas, Hezbollah, members of ISIS. We still think that there's 300 Chinese military-age men that came in during the Biden administration inside of our country.
300,000.
Yeah. It's not... The war isn't, folks, and I'm telling you, the war is not over there anymore, and people have to get over the World War II, movie scene, right, where we have these oceans that protect us, right? We no longer have these oceans that protect us. The war is right here, and we are deeply in the middle of it, and we have an infiltrated government. And again, I'm trying not to be, hyperbolic about this, but what I'm saying is not theoretical. This is real. And we have to deal with this right now. And I don't feel like it is happening. I just don't feel like that's the focus when we can't even get, one guy indicted for, a treason, basically.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I really 100% agree with you. There's a lot of things that you said that I wanted to unpack. I know we're running out of time here, so I don't want to belabor it. But I mean, just at the FBI, just as an example, this is just a microcosm, right? I mean, we learned from Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch, like the idea was that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel were going to go in there and clean house. And we know from Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch, they didn't do anything at the FBI. There was almost like no cleaning of house of any of the rot, any of these people who went after you, went after President Trump before January 6th. I mean, the list is endless. So the rot is still there.
Yeah. Well, and again, I hate to make this about, my situation, but my situation mattered because it's tying into every single thing that is happening.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when we have elements inside of our government that are trying to cause us to be something other than we're not, which is essentially a globalist component of the one world order crowd. I mean, that's why the whatever the Prime Minister of Greenland is talking about joining the European Union. I mean, there are elements in this on the planet today that are so anti-American, and they don't want America to be the world leader, right? I want America to be the world leader. I want us to continue to have the English as the language of choice, and the United States dollar as the currency of choice globally. I'd love to continue to have that, and I want us to have that. But we have that when we act in a humble, leader way, and we have to be very careful about when we go to these places and we do things outside of our borders. We have to really understand what are our objectives. Yeah. And what I want now. I'm going to talk as not only a former general officer, but also as an American citizen. Because I want the President of the United States to come out and tell the American people, here's the objectives that we have for Venezuela. Here's the objectives that we have for Eastern Europe. Here's the objectives that we have for the Middle East. Here's the objectives that we have for Greenland. Here's the objectives that we have for the Indo-Pacific region. And here's how we're going to achieve them. And here's the timeline that we're going to be on. And here's what we're going to do if we don't achieve them. We're going to unask the areas that we're in. And frankly, the most important objective, which I did not mention, is here's how we are going to fix our own country right now. And we're going to do it through a series of 2 or 3 steps. And, it's not just grow the economy and reduce inflation. I mean, because at the end of the day, for the American people, it's like me. I mean, the gas station up the street from my house, the price of gas in the last year has only dropped a quarter. Okay, 25 cents. So, okay, could it have dropped a lot more? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, but a quarter is that's something. But I actually know, because of the energy resources that are moving around globally, and frankly, how we can leverage our strength in places like Iraq and places in other parts of the world, that we could actually have the price of gas that somebody puts into their car down, easily down below $1.50. Yeah. Easily.
Yes.
So these are things that are America First type issues that matter. These are the tabletop, the dining room table issues that people are worried about. How much money does it cost to put food on the table? Why do I still have to go to 2 jobs? Hey, we're paying federal taxes. We're about to go into tax season here. I'm going to pay federal taxes. And I just learned that there's potentially $1 trillion of taxes stolen from us. There's $700 million that they just found at the airport in Minneapolis. Cash. I mean, right. It to me is unfathomable.
No, it's mind blowing. As hardworking Americans who find that they have to send in their tax check, and then
right. I mean, I'm paying a tax. Yeah. I'm going to get my check, which is average salary right now is probably, I don't know, 50 grand a year or something like that. I mean, I'm going to get my check and it's going to have little things about taxes taken out. I'm like, where the hell is that going? Is it going to Somalia?
Right, exactly.
So, I don't know. If it goes to the military, if it goes to infrastructure, if it goes to helping, our veterans, if it goes to helping poor people in some of the situations that they're in, if it comes to helping the handicap in our country, I mean, there's so many things that have to happen. And last point that I'll say, and I'll shut up. I want people to understand that I am not anti-war. I am not anti-war, but I am anti-stupid war. Because the enemy has a vote. The enemies that we are facing right now have a vote. And their vote is no longer stuck in some region of the world where they can't get out of. Their vote is right here in the United States of America. And we have got to be conscious of that. And the intelligence, because our intelligence capability in this country can be really powerful, okay? And we witnessed some of that very exquisite level of intelligence during the capture of Maduro But trust me, that wasn't coming from the CIA. That was coming from elsewhere. And so the intelligence that we do have, that Mr. President, that you need to pay attention to, but you need to ask tougher questions, is what could be the responses of these people if we do these things? What will they do right here at home? I mean, you guys just heard, I hope you heard about this Secret Service agent that broke on another media outlet today. I mean,
O'Keefe.
To me, that's so egregious. Trust me, if there's one, there's many, many others. These are the Secret Service, the most elite of our law enforcement secret capabilities that we have that are supposed to provide VIP protection in our country. And these guys are around the vice president, and I guarantee the president. I mean, talk about government reform. Oh my God, Mr. President. Put some emphasis on the people that you hired, and you tell them they have the full authority to do whatever they need to do to reform their organizations. Cut them in half. Raise, like Cash said, prior to going in as the FBI director, we're going to raise the building. I mean,
Where does that happen?
Anyway, I could go on and on, guys. Thank you for having me.
General,
Always a pleasure.
General, great to have you here. Really appreciate it. We should do a deep dive at some point, and I know we've got 2 more segments in the show today, but we would thank you for your insights on all of this, and you painted a really huge picture that we're going to dissect here for many, many weeks here on the show. So thank you, General. Great to see you, and really appreciate your time.
God bless, guys. See you.
Thanks, General.
He makes a fantastic point about the kitchen table issues. It just doesn't feel like a priority for the Trump administration at all. It's all foreign policy, which was the opposite of campaign promises.
And the point maybe I was making is that it seems like the Trump administration does care, or at least President Trump does care about the kitchen table issues, but he's like being pulled in this like other direction by these people who want him involved in like all these foreign wars. And he's like, okay, focus on income taxes. You said you're going to get rid of income taxes. That would literally change everything in the United States of America. Get rid of income taxes.
They won't allow it because they need it to wage wars. Anyhow, all right, we have to move on. Thank you so much to our 2 amazing guests. Before we get on to our next segment about soccer moms being anarchized, is that a word? I just made it up. Against ICE. Why is this the army that they're pulling from? Ladies, don't you have anything else to do? We're going to talk about that in a second. And I'm going to talk to you as someone who once felt like this social justice angst. It's like a frustration. What do you call it? Like a sexual frustration. What do you call that? It's like that.
Oh, I know about that.
They feel it. What?
I'm just see if you're paying attention.
I'm paying attention. Don't start something you can't finish.
Take out my frustration. Oh, I'll finish.
Okay.
Don't you worry about it.
Before we do that, we want to tell you about our friends at Brightcore Nutrition. Now, you may have seen, you guys, that there is a new federal guidelines for the food pyramid. Used to look like that on the left, but now it looks like that on the right. So no longer are they telling you to make your food and your diet full of cookies and bread. And I think there's a Danish on there. No, instead they want you to eat whole foods, real foods. Well, it's a little too late, though, because a lot of damage has been done by encouraging Americans to eat such a high inflammatory diet. Well, you can help fix some of the damage done by taking kimchi every day. The benefits of kimchi have been proven, but kimchi is not something we really know how to add to our meals very often, unless you're Philip. He adds it to everything. The rest of us who are not raised in a Korean culture don't really know how to do that, so you can take it in pill form. Our friends over at Brightcore Nutrition have developed Kimchi One, and it is all the benefits of kimchi, again, in a supplement form. So it will help, take on all of the damage that may have been done from processed foods. So check them out. Go to mybrightcore.com/redacted. If you use the code redacted, you can get 25% off, or you can call them. If you call, you can get up to 50% off plus free shipping. 888-404-6312. Again, it's Kimchi One from Brightcore. We take it every day here because health starts in the gut. All right. Was Renee Good? What was she trying to accomplish by going to the ICE protest and blocking arrests with her car. Where did she get that from? This thing that got her shot and killed. Well, it turns out she was using the skills that she was taught through the Minnesota Ice Watch group, which she was a member. Now, some materials from this group have been discovered online. It turns out that they train people to resist ICE, not by being peaceful protesters, not by speaking to their elected representatives. Oh no, instead by blocking ICE agents with their bodies, getting detainees out of the car if they can. So if you see someone arrest, go and try and open that door, physically confronting ICE agents. Here's some of their training materials that was published on Instagram. Says that if you're getting arrested, you can shake it off. You just shake it off. Hey, criminals, why haven't you thought of this? Just use Taylor Swift's Shake It Off.
It's on your permanent record.
You should have just done that.
It's on your permanent record now, but just shake it off.
Just shake it off. Get out of there. You can just shake them off.
You can just do it. You could, yeah. Cops grab you and be like, no, thank you. And they're like, oh, damn it. Cops hate this one trick.
Right. Like, have you seen those Instagrams where they're like, if you're in handcuffs, you do this thing or whatever? It's like, no, you just, like a dog, you just shake it. Okay. Why haven't criminals thought of this all along? Now, that said, if one of your co-instigators is getting arrested, they say that you should lower your center of gravity and like pound on the fists. That's also okay. This is like Maoist China, deputizing citizens and encouraging anarchy. But who is it that they're really recruiting to do this? Is it like this, you know, the Linda Hamilton types, moms fighting extinction level threats, doing pull-ups every single day on their bed frame? No, it's not. Hardly. They're looking at bored housewives who have nothing else to do while their kids are in school. Now, think about it. They are the perfect mark, and I know because I have been here before. I don't want to speak like I'm above it. They are more likely to be privileged because they have working husbands. They are educated, but they don't actually work in the field that they're educated in, so they're kind of bored and listless. They're highly idealistic. Most of the time they spend is with children. And so children don't respond to their rhetoric, right? They don't challenge them. They're pumped full of social justice, social media, and they probably train by walking around with those weighted vests in their gated community. They take collagen and creatine. You know this archetype, right? I myself have found myself in this situation while the kids are napping. You're highly educated. You're no longer contributing a salary to the family. You're pumped up by social media. You're told that raising your babies is not enough of a contribution to society. So you need to go advocate for someone with darker skin than you. This is a hard place to see your way through. You have to really study to get out of this and break your allegiance to your algorithm. There is actually a term for this. Have you heard this term? It's called Selma envy. It was coined by the American author Shelby Steele. It's the longing for a defining moral movement, like the 1965 Selma marches when justice was unmistakable and taking a stand carried real risk. It refers to the impulse to force modern conflicts into this rhetorical, historical framework and the need to cast oneself as a heroic resistor to claim the moral purpose and urgency. So you find this vacuum and you need to fill it, but this accomplishes very little. You're not saving anyone from arrest or meaningfully addressing the very real ICE abuses in this way. And a community of color, they're not really building trust or harmony with you, white ladies, with this kind of performative confrontation. Now, I brought some clips that I find humorous to address this situation, but I'm only half joking. This kind of activism doesn't read as solidarity. It reads as self-indulgence. Too many working parents in Black and Latino communities, they're busy raising their families and surviving the real world. So to them, it looks less like justice and more like luxury performance that they don't have the time or patience for. Watch this comedian Brian Torres Day and his commentary on this.
Hey, white women, as a Latino, we appreciate your empathy, okay? We really do, but I'm telling you right now, if the shoe was on the other foot, Latinos are not getting between you and federally armed agents to save you, All right? Like, if ICE tomorrow starts deporting short-haired white women with septum piercings, you're on your own. All right? Like, you're never going to hear Jose like, hey, you put that woman down. You leave Nadine alone.
Nadine.
She has a cat and a one-bedroom apartment. You take her back to her yoga studio, fool.
Nadine. I love they chose Nadine as the
Right. Like, we appreciate it, but knock it off. Now, here is how this discussion has continued. I'm going to play a clip from one of my favorite YouTubers, Ty Rivera. His episode yesterday was about how black women are now upset that white women are using the hashtag say her name because they're saying, oh, no, you were never allowed. This is for black ladies only. This white lady died. You can't use this hashtag that was for us blacks. Watch.
Case you haven't heard, the latest is some black women are upset right now because people are using the say her name hashtag for Renee Nicole Good. And this is why I'm telling all white women to withdraw your support from all people of color except me. Which I say only half jokingly, but listen to this for a second.
Say her name is for black women.
Okay, so let me get this straight. White women are supposed to use their privilege for good and basically turn themselves into human shields. They're supposed to join your marches. They're supposed to cut off their families. And then when they end up losing their lives in the line of duty, you're all going to be petty enough to not allow them to use the hashtag say her name. And this is why I tell white women to sit it out. Because I also saw a video where a woman was saying that she felt guilty because of her white tears.
I mean, part of it is being like a white woman that I'm privileged and I have a lot of privilege. So I feel like white tears are not always something that's helpful or necessary when
White
black
tears.
and brown people.
I'm so sorry, I'm crying in front of you.
For a long
I shouldn't be
time.
doing this.
Baby, I hate to break it to you, but white tears are the only ones that matter in this situation. If your support wasn't necessary, they wouldn't be asking for it all the time. They wouldn't be trying to guilt trip you into giving your support. And that's why I say that these women really need to cut off this toxic relationship they have with certain people of color. It's really not working out in your favor, and at the end of the day, they don't even respect you for your effort.
Okay, so white women have done what they were told by the DEI police. They risked their lives for minorities that they don't know, and now some communities are saying, oh no, but your death is not as tragic as minority deaths. So what is this? Now, in my opinion, this is misguided and dangerous moral cosplay. Is exactly what it is. It's about manufacturing risk to feel morally alive because you're otherwise bored for communities you are not a part of and probably don't even understand. Absolutely, ICE is guilty of power and abuse right now. Those claims definitely deserve investigation, oversight, and lawful challenge, but a white progressive soccer mom army practicing street-level anarchy is not the answer, and they should have the humility to admit as much. Now, history shows us where this path leads. Mao's student brigades were not justice movements. They were instruments of chaos, fueled by moral confusion. Did we not learn from this? What we're seeing here is not resistance, but it's frustration, misguided energy that most likely could be channeled into something constructive, instead being spent acting revolution for strangers, and people are paying the real price. So let me know what you think of this. And if you are a soccer mom who feels like, no, I need to be doing this, I need to understand why. So let us know.
We saw a lot of this when we lived in New Jersey. Like there were a lot of like these moms who they didn't work. They were kind of home all day with their kids, is your point. And they're like, you know what? I'm just going to go to this feminist rally in Washington, D.C. You guys all with me?
Right.
Like, okay, you have nothing better to do? You're going to go down to Washington?
I need to register my voice as a strong woman, right? Because otherwise diaper changing is not that's not who I am as a nursing, diaper changing mom. Like I'm more than this. I'm frustrated. I'm going to go. And I understand that. And you should have the freedom to express yourself. You do not have the freedom to go and commit crimes and impede law enforcement. You just don't. That's just not how the law is written. And, you know, if it were your right, then I would say go and do it. But you do have to consider, if you are someone who runs a family, what is the cost that your family might pay? Have they decided that that's worth it? Probably they have, because a lot of these moms, you know, make their kids extremists. They sit at the kitchen table and they tell them, like, if mommy doesn't do this, Black people will not be free. And the kids are like, okay, well, then you're going to, right? But can kids really give their consent to you risking your lives for deporting what in many cases, I think it was reported that some of the criminal prosecution that Renee Good was impeding was for a sexual predator. So do your kids like, yes, you better go get that sexual predator out of jail. We all agree that you might die, but you got to do it, right? Who gives consent for this? What are the costs when you become a mother? These are important conversations that you should have with humility, but I don't think that that's being pushed to them in their social media algorithms. Anyhow, let us know what you think of that.
Oh, people are letting you know what they think of this.
What do they think of this?
Well, some people say, I live in New Jersey. You're exactly right. I know a lot of women like this. I know a lot of moms like this. Elise O'Grady says, Natalie, I get what you're saying and agree. And then you've got this guy, Fat Boy, keeps repeating the same thing, says, bad segment, who cares? And he's a black man.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know why you shouldn't care about that. I mean, this what she's showing, I think, is the radicalization of these women who have like idle minds and don't have any, like, have tons of free time on their hand, and they feel like they need to go into these communities.
Right. I'm so glad my maid Rosa can clean the toilets while I go out and protest, you know, in my weighted vests.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Philip?
Oh, I just like, they were talking about New Jersey. Like, yes, the New Jersey's. I live outside of Portland. That's
oh my God,
90% of the population in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
Man, can you imagine if they had like?
Do you go on dates with them and you're like, I can't listen to this. Go do something.
I did. Like, I dated a woman. It was while we were in lockdowns, and then all of the Black Lives Matter protests happened, and then we ended up breaking up because she just went and did that every single night. She was out there. I was like, I've got work.
Trade Tech says, I'm black and I care about it, and they get too much free times on their hand, 100%. Someone said it there is from Scotland. Oh, Eyeball Paul, I like this one, says from Scotland. We don't get Karens in Scotland, to be honest. They just get told to shut up.
I mean, I do remember, you know, being in this liberal New Jersey community. I, you know, have a lot of degrees, had a high-paying job, and then all of a sudden I'm home with my kids, and I'm worked up about social issues, and I think Black people really need my help. And now I think back, and I'm like, what a racist thought that is, that they need me, like liberal New Jersey housewife, to help. Like, you're told that, though, that those thoughts are fed to you. It's very hard to break that kind of like racist expectation that they need you. And I feel sorry for anyone who cannot. Okay, I have obligations. I have a carpool to run because I am a mom. So Clayton's going to tell you about our friends at Lear before we move on.
That's right. So yeah, she's got to run. So she doesn't have idle time. She's got to go and take care of the kids. Don't stop off at any ICE arrests.
I will try.
Okay, don't stop off at any ICE arrests on the way. If an ICE officer comes after
you're going to get a call in like
move out
of the way
of
6 hours
truck.
that she's in Minneapolis.
She's in Minneapolis
She's
prison.
in Minneapolis, and
Natalie went to no. Well, don't you hate it when people say, you know, I told you so. Yeah, I told you so. Sorry, but I told you guys, gold and silver were going to reap the benefits of all of this excessive money printing, overvalued markets, global unrest. It is here. It has happened. I've been telling you for the past couple of years. Gold and silver. And I, by the way, I wasn't telling you like, oh, invest in it because it's going to go up in value and that's great. You know, we all like when things go up in value, right? But what I was saying, I've been saying it for years, is that it's preservation. It's to protect your family because the U.S. dollar is collapsing. But gold and silver have now both soared to all-time highs. I hope you've called our friends at Lear Capital, and I hope you bought some gold and silver. If you didn't, trust me, it's not too late. Experts are predicting even higher prices ahead. Yes, silver. I mean, if you saw silver predictions, over $120 an ounce. So, and same with gold, over $6,000 an ounce, there are predictions. It's all being driven by this geopolitical uncertainty right now. Inflation concerns, a weaker U.S. dollar, strong industrial demand for silver. China, of course, what they're doing with silver now, their export controls. So we have forecasts suggesting gold could challenge $5,000, even $6,000 an ounce. Silver up to $150 an ounce in some predictions. That's why we're seeing banks and investors moving out of the dollar and into gold and silver right now. Morgan Stanley just changed their 60-40 portfolio, 60 strategy to 60-20-20. That's 20% in precious metals. That is huge. That is a huge move for them. They don't do that. So even with markets hitting all-time highs, Warren Buffett has been selling hundreds of millions of Apple shares. They get it. They know what's coming. So isn't it time, folks? Please get yourself some gold and silver. Again, not as like it's going to go up in huge value, and it may go down a little bit. I mean, to me, I don't care. To me, I want to preserve my family's, all the work that I've done for the last 30 years of my life, getting up at 2 a.m, working in the news business, no sleep, working at McDonald's is my first job. Like, you know, I've put in the time, I think, and I want to preserve that. So the way that I preserve that is not being in the US dollar. I'm telling you, like, these are the conversations I have with Natalie off of the show. Like, this is what we were talking about at lunch the other day. We need to get out of the US dollar ASAP. So call the best in the business. Call our friends at Lear Capital. It's a free phone call. There's no obligation to purchase anything, just free education, information on protecting and growing your wealth with gold and silver. I'm sure there are many of you that have called and haven't purchased yet for whatever reason. Don't make the mistake twice. Now is the time. Get some gold, ship directly to you, or shift some of those dollars in your retirement accounts, which you can do, into a self-directed retirement account to own physical gold and silver. It's easy to do. Natalie and I've done both. We've been extremely satisfied with Lear's knowledge, their service, their prices. I urge you to give them a call today. Just learn more. Have a free phone call with these guys. They're an American company. You're not going to get outsourced to India and talking to somebody in India. You're going to talk to an American. 1-800-613-3557. Or go to LearRedacted.com. And guess what? They've now increased the amount in free bonus medals that you'll get with a qualified purchase. $20,000 in free bonus medals with a qualified purchase. So call them today or go to LearRedacted.com. All right, thanks to our friends at Lear. Boy, it's crazy. $39 trillion in debt right now, and people think, things are fine. It's like, if you listen, I mean, it's unbelievable. How do you think things are fine? You just continue to print fake money? How is that? It's going to collapse. It's absolutely going to collapse. You know, and they're going to try to do quantitative easing. They're going to try to throw as much money as they can right now. I don't know if you've seen that. There's been a number of banks who've declared bankruptcy. There's been a number of banks who've now gone belly up, and they've quietly during the holidays like injected money into them. It's unsustainable. It's unsustainable.
Yeah,
all right.
I mean, eventually we're just going to have to hit the nope button and just put it back to zero. That's really the only way we would ever get out of it. It's just be like, actually, no, it's zero now. We don't know that, because how else are you going to pay that off? You can't. You can't.
I mean, you've got China selling off treasuries at a rapid clip. You know, globalists, this whole global economy now is totally shifting to a multipolar world order right now. The BRICS nations rising. China settling transactions in yuan, Russia doing the same. I mean, that was the whole reason we're in Venezuela. It's because of the U.S. petrodollar. It wasn't because of Maduro's a drug lord. Anyway, hope people are paying attention and protecting their families. And I don't care if you work with Lear or not. Like, I don't care what you do. I just want you to protect yourselves. So if you just want to go to Costco and buy some gold, go ahead. Like, I don't care where you go down to like the local pawn shop. I don't care. But just protect yourselves. And make sure, by the way, that you've got like food supplies on hand. Like, hopefully you're prepping and making sure you've got like enough to support your family for a couple of months. You know, people will kick themselves and they'll be, oh, it's too late. Now I didn't do it. So please do it. Please do it. We've got like enough food supplies. My kids were like, wait a minute, we have emergency food? Because we were, putting away Christmas ornaments and doing all kind of stuff. And I was like, my son was like, what is that? I'm like, oh, that's our, emergency food supply. He's like, what? It's like, yeah, we've got enough for months to, in case something happens. China hits us with an EMP attack or otherwise. And he's like, oh, okay. don't want to scare the kids, but you want to make sure they understand what the hell's going on. Anyway, well, stop me if you've heard the news all over the mainstream media about all of those Catholic churches being attacked in America. Oh, you haven't heard about it on the evening news? Well, that's not surprising because the mainstream media and the FBI have totally ignored attacks on Catholic churches and Christian crisis pregnancy centers. But it turns out, did you know that there have been 500 attacks on Catholic churches since May of 2020? Of course you didn't. Did you see that on Good Morning America? No, you didn't. But if you were watching, by the way, Good Morning America yesterday morning, you would have learned about a brazen arson attack on a Jewish synagogue in Mississippi, because apparently anti-Semitism is on the rise, as they tell us. Watch Good Morning America.
Now to the investigation into the arson in an historic synagogue in Mississippi. The FBI announced that the suspect confessed to lighting the fire in a targeted attack. Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas is tracking the story. Good morning, Pierre.
George, good morning. In this deeply disturbing story, a 19-year-old has been charged with launching an arson attack against one of the most historic synagogues in the South. And newly released surveillance footage shows a chilling account showing a suspect in a hood entering Beth Israel Congregation Temple around 3 a.m. Saturday morning. The suspect douses the floor and assaults with gasoline and uses a torch to set the building on fire. Although no one was injured, catastrophic damage was done to the building.
Well, he made sure he looked right at the camera.
Claims that Stephen Spencer Pittman confessed to his father. The FBI says that he targeted the temple because of his, quote, Jewish ties. The FBI suggested Pittman was full of hate, allegedly laughing about the incident when he told his father he was responsible for the assault. Pittman also allegedly called the temple the synagogue of Satan. Michael, the synagogue, which serves at least 13 states in the South, has been targeted before. In 1967, it was bombed by the KKK because of its support for the civil rights movement. Michael?
Yeah. I love how he turns right to the camera and looks right at the camera, by the way. It's great. So the FBI is all over this story, but they couldn't be bothered to look in the Catholic churches that have been set on fire or the attacks on the Christian pregnancy centers, the crisis centers. By the way, it's worth pointing out the special agent in charge out of the Jacksonville field office that caught the guy is none other than Robert Eichhoff. It's like they're not even trying to hide it anymore. I just want to go through this absurd story and see if it passes the smell test, or does it sound like a false flag to you? So here is the story. Let's just kind of read through it if we can here. Do you have my laptop? If you're able to grab that. There we go. So a Mississippi grand jury has indicted a 19-year-old man with arson and hate crime charges stemming from a fire at the only synagogue in Jackson, Mississippi. An act investigators allege the suspect confessed to committing because of the building's Jewish ties. Hinds County, Mississippi District Attorney Jody Owens announced on Tuesday that Stephen Spencer Pittman was indicted by a state grand jury on first-degree arson charges with a hate crime enhancement. Like, it's not enough to just, like, burn a building. You have to add on a hate crime, which are all fake anyway. Okay. You got to add that in there. The fire early Saturday morning caused significant damage to the Beth Israel Congregation Synagogue and is alleged to have been motivated by religious hatred, elevating the case to one of the most serious arson prosecutions available under Mississippi law. Crimes motivated by hate and directed at places of worship strike at the core of who we are as a community and the fundamental right to worship freely and safely. Mississippi law treats these offenses with the seriousness they demand, including enhanced penalties when bias is involved. By the way, when you kill someone or set a fire to something, aren't you biased towards that thing? I'm just like, if you kill somebody, you probably have a bias towards that person. Owens added that the indictment reflects our commitment to enforcing those laws fully and ensuring the acts intend to intimidate or terrorize religious communities are met with decisive accountability. He faces up to 60 years in prison. All right, but here's where it gets good. The state charges were announced a day after federal prosecutors charged Pittman with arson of property used in an interstate commerce or used in activity affecting interstate commerce. Pittman allegedly laughed about the synagogue attack when confronted by his father, telling his dad, quote, he finally got them, and referring to the place of worship as the synagogue of Satan, according to an FBI affidavit filed in the federal case. Now, listen to this, okay? The fire occurred around 3 a.m. on Saturday at the historic Beth Israel congregation, the same one that was bombed by the Ku Klux Klan. So you know this is like a perfect target, right? This is a great choice. Like if you were going to like send a signal, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying this was a false flag. I don't know, but this is a perfect play, right? It was a symbol. It's a symbol of like, you know, civil rights and the Ku Klux Klan. So you would choose this one. It's a great choice, right? The FBI said the building also houses the Gold Ring Woldenberg Institute of Southern Jewish Life. The ISJL operates in interstate and foreign commerce as it provides services to Jewish communities in 13 different states, including Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, according to the affidavit. It also provides comprehensive religious school programs to 70 Jewish congregations. Okay. Pittman's father contacted the FBI and advised his son confessed to setting the building on fire, according to the affidavit. There's a lot of these like fathers turning in their sons lately stories. Charlie Kirk. Wait, I mean, how many more do we need to list at this point? And according to the affidavit, he allegedly sent text messages to his father about the blaze, saying he was due for a home run and I did my research, according to the affidavit. Pittman allegedly admitted to stopping to purchase gasoline. So this is my favorite part. So he texts his father like everything. Very similar to like Tyler Robinson, texting everything, every little detail. So Pittman allegedly admitted to stopping to purchase gasoline, taking his license plate off of his car, breaking a window at the synagogue. So he details everything to his father in these text messages. Pouring the gasoline inside of the building and then using a torch lighter to start the fire. So he told his father everything in text messages. So Pittman was identified as a person of interest and ultimately confessed to lighting a fire inside the building due to the building's Jewish ties. Yeah, that's why I did it. Jewish ties. Security video, and there's also the security video from inside the building showing the fire was started by an individual inside the building in the early morning hours. So he's wearing a hood, he's wearing a mask, he takes off his license plate, and within less than 48 hours, the FBI got their guy. A hooded individual can be seen walking around the interior of the building pouring contents from what appears to be a gas container. So they knew exactly where this guy was. He didn't even have a license plate. Couldn't see his face. He's got a mask on and a hood. They got their guy. Okay. Hey, how's that pipe bomber working out for you? 3 years later, and then you get an autistic guy who has nothing to do with it. But okay. Pittman allegedly sent text messages to his father from the synagogue, writing that there was a furnace in the back of the building, that he had removed his license plate from his vehicle, and that his hoodie is on, according to the affidavit. He also allegedly noted that the synagogue has the best cameras. Okay. Oh. I mean, you can't make this up. They really think we're stupid. Pittman's father told authorities that later that day when he confronted his son, he observed burns on his son's ankles, his hands, and his face. After detaining Pittman, the FBI agents, the Jackson Fire Department, and the Hinds County Sheriff's Office investigators interviewed him. Pittman allegedly confessed to the investigator that he set fire to the synagogue and said that he caught himself on fire during the act, the affidavit said. Pittman also told authorities that he left his cell phone in the synagogue. Okay. Pittman, I'm just going to read that again. Pittman also told authorities that he left his cell phone in the synagogue. The FBI later recovered a burned cell phone from the scene, which they say they believe to be Pittman's. Okay. This is almost like an Encyclopedia Brown story, like from when I was 8 years old. So I'm sorry. Could you find any holes in this story? But don't worry. The Jewish, what's his name, Eichhoff, from the Jackson field office was all over this, and the FBI got their Jewish hate crime. No mention, of course, of the 500 Catholic churches burned, or no concern at all from the FBI going after them. But they got their guy in less than 48 hours. But my favorite part from this Encyclopedia Brown mystery is the burned cell phone that you left behind. But you somehow managed to text and detail everything from removing your license plate to they have the best cameras in this place to your father, who then contacts the FBI, turns you in, case closed. Okay. All right. Sounds like an open and shut case to me. Man, the FBI is really good at going after these anti-Semitic Jewish hate crimes. I'm glad they're all over this at the FBI.
Have they
False
found
flag?
the bullets yet with writing on them?
Yeah, there's going to be, it also says, I hate, it'll say something anti-Semitic on it. Like, I hope this burns like a menorah, like written on the bullets. That's the only thing that's missing from this, right? We've got him staring right at the best cameras. So he's fully aware of the cameras. He stops and stares right at the cameras. He takes his license plate off. He's going to great lengths to not be known. But then he also stares right at the cameras. He leaves his phone behind and it burns. But he's also able to get off all of these details about the crime in great detail to his father. Okay. Who contacts the FBI right away.
Sounds like Tyler Robinson all over again.
I know. I mean, it's amazing how quickly the FBI can spring into action and get their guy, isn't it? When
They're like, hey, that story worked with Tyler. Let's try it again.
When it serves their purposes. I'm sure Pam Bondi, is all over this as well. Anti-Semitic crimes, hate crimes, we will not stand for that in the United States of America. Catholic churches burning? It's fine. Christian centers? We're not going to use the FBI's resources for that, but we will make sure. To me, you're all like laying the groundwork. I'm sure Netanyahu is going to weigh in on this next and tell us all how, like, this is why we need to attack Iran. I'm sure we'll find out that this guy Pittman is probably an Iranian next. Like, that'll be the next piece of the story. That he was radicalized in Iran. And he came to Mississippi to get back at the Jews. Anyway, they think you're stupid, of course. Oh, I love it. That's crazy. What do you guys think of that story? Mossad. You can tell by the walk that the arsonist was female. I don't know. Yeah, exactly, Creed. Yeah, so he texted after. He told his father everything that he did during the arson, and then he left his phone there and it burned. Really? So he's just hung out and like texted while he was at the scene of the crime. Okay, but his burned cell phone is there. Oh my God. But I'm glad ABC News and Good Morning America devoted 3 minutes to it and talking about these hate crimes in the United States. Alonzo Maynard says, as tragic as the church story is, 99.95% will flow with it, seeing no problems with that story. That's also a tragedy of epic proportions. Exactly, because, right, again, this is why this propaganda works. I don't know if you saw during the holidays, like all those television ads about anti-Semitism. Did you guys see those like on TV throughout the holidays? Like if you're watching any football or anything else, it was like, what do you say when a young man or a young boy is like, I don't know, kicked because he's Jewish or something like that? It's like, yeah, okay. I feel bad. I don't want anybody being picked on because of their religion. I don't want anyone being kicked because they're Jewish. I don't want to be anybody being kicked because they're Christian. Like, okay. All right. It was like massive multi-million-dollar ad campaign right during the holidays to really pull at your heartstrings. So, a propaganda story, Yellow says. Exactly. Rumpelstiltskin says that was a burner phone. That's good. That's a good one. Anyway. All right. What else do we have here? I think that's it, right? That's going to do it. I should mention, hey, we do have our newsletter. If I didn't tell you, I did tell you at the beginning, but worth telling you at the end.
Wow, you're going to lose 2 demerits today. That's awesome.
I know. Please go to redacted.inc. Not .com, it's .inc. And sign up for our free newsletter. We publish it every morning. It's delivered to your inbox first thing in the morning. You can read it over your cup of coffee. We cover like 4 or 5 of the big stories of the day. And we work really hard to bring you some great stories that you're probably not going to see in the mainstream media. And it's a great way to get caught up before your day kicks off. So check it out at redacted.inc is a place to go. So thank you guys, everyone, for being a part of our show today. I really appreciate it. I love all the feedback, as always. Love the commentary in our chat room. We are here every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being part of our show. And we'll see you back here tomorrow live at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye, everyone.